Good afternoon. Hello, New York City. My name is DeAngelis. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called QualiFi, small business finance broker. I'd like to start off today telling you about what college I graduated from and what fancy degree I have. But the truth is I don't have one. It's ironic being here in New York City today in the Big Apple, because that's where my journey started about 30 years ago. A young kid in his mid-20s, driving to New York, picking up some product, and bringing it back to Philly for my little side hustle.
Ladies and gentlemen, we currently have DeAngelis speaking in the room, so please make your way over if you want to hear DeAngelis speak. Thank you.
Which was selling perfume and cologne on the street corner outside the welfare office on 2 milk crates in Philadelphia. That little side hustle turned into a real business, a pretty thriving business, which led me to my first storefront, which I named Perfume World Imports. A couple years after that, it led me into the screen printing and embroidery business, where I spent 17 years in the first half of my career. We eventually sold and got acquired as I made the transition into the business finance industry, and I started with BizLender. And I'll never forget about it. It was a day that we drove up the turnpike, and me, Dave, and Larry, the owners of BizLender at the time, and we went to visit MCC, Merchant Cash and Capital. For those of you that have been around long enough, remember MCC. They eventually changed their name to BizFi. And we went in, we met their leadership team, we met the CEO, Steve Scheinbaum, and they took us for a tour. Amazing, beautiful office. I remember meeting their head of marketing, and they were generating 1,000 leads a day. And I just thought that was insane when I seen that, just handling 1,000 leads a day. I remember, I think they took us over to meet the sales managers, some of the members of the sales team, and they had about maybe 70, possibly even 100 sales reps. It was just an incredible operation. They were funding at the time, probably about $30 million a month. They were also brokering about $25 to $30 million a month. So it's about $60 million all in. And I just remember driving home that day and just thinking to myself, wow, this is unbelievable. And from that day forward, I just had the dream that I just want to build something exactly like that. The problem was I just didn't understand how to really make a business scale. So it's kind of surreal actually standing here today before you all in New York City. Because thinking back about 2.5 years ago, our business at QualiFi today hit a rough patch. It wasn't a bad month. It wasn't 2 bad months. We went through 2 bad quarters, 6 months. And Jay and I were going home every night. We knew we were working our butts off, pretty much putting the grind in, doing everything right, hiring right, putting systems and processes in. And we were losing money. Can't tell you how stressful that time was. I had to take myself off payroll. That's how bad it got for some time. As did my partner, Jay, who's here today. He's my rock, my wingman. Took himself off payroll as well. And unbeknownst to myself, my daughter, Gia, who's here today, took herself off payroll and never told me because she felt bad for Dad. And that one kind of hit home, guys. It really did. So today, I put together what I feel is the 7 most impactful, I'm going to call them game changers, that help QualiFi scale from a $2 million a month shop, 10x, to doing about $20 million a month as we are today. So my first game changer, and this one really resonates with me because I was pretty bad at it my whole career, is at hiring. And the first lesson is to hire slow and fire fast. And everybody here has heard of the 80-20 rule, right? Where your top 20%, your A players are bringing in 80% of the revenue. I want to ask you guys, how many here are the CEO of a funding company or a broker shop that has or oversees a sales team of at least 5 or more sales guys? Probably a few more. How many on those teams have 1 or 2 or a couple guys or girls that we'll call your average Joes, your non-performers, right? So I think we all have them. And what I want to really drive home today is we start diving into the numbers. and we really start looking at the numbers. And I just want to show you guys today the difference between 2 good hires and 2, let's just say, bad hires, your average Joes or non-performers. So at QualiFi, our top players, our A players, can typically bring in, let's just say 2 guys will bring in about $100,000 a month in revenue. On the other side of that, the non-performers, the average guys, will maybe bring in about $20,000 in revenue. So that's like an $80,000 difference per month. If you look at that over a quarter, it's $250,000 roughly. And for those of you that are good at math, it's $1 million a year. Think about that. How many of us would like to add $1 million of revenue that'll go straight to your bottom line without spending a single penny? So wait, we're not done there, because let's think about all the opportunities that were lost, that the average Joes are losing, that the A players would have typically closed, right? We don't just lose that deal, but we lose all that residual, all the residual line of credit draws, all the renewals, all the upsells, all the cross-sells. So it's far more than $1 million. We were stuck pretty much my whole career. I always did all the hiring. I sucked at it, I gotta be honest. No real process, no interview process. I hired too fast, no qualifications. For those of you that know me, Jay will probably laugh. You know, you seem like a nice guy, when can you start? That was my idea of an interview back then. And as you can imagine, that's gonna lead to high turnover, not much of a success rate. I also had the problem of keeping people too long. And I'm talking 6, 12, 18, even 24 months. And it's just, when you realize what it does to your bottom line, especially with the example that I shared earlier, it's just tremendous. You have to learn to hire slow and fire fast. So what changed today? I removed myself from the process. I trust my leaders that are on the floor behind me. We set up a finder's fee for our own employees. So we typically pay, I believe it's something like $750. So if any one of our employees refers someone to our company as a candidate and we hire them, they get the finder's fee. So probably right now, QualiFi has a little over 30 employees. I'd be willing to make a bet today that 20 or 25 of them were from our own internal employees referring their friends and colleagues. So it's a great way to recruit. It beats recruiting. Sorry if there's any recruiters in here. I know recruiting could cost $10,000 a hire and then some. So think about that for your new hires and a way to recruit. We also implemented pre-hire assessments. Before we bring any candidate in, we send them a pre-hire assessment. We do preset interview questions that all of our hiring managers have. We have 2 or 3 pages of just important questions that are going to dive deep and try to really get to know who these people are. We do multiple interviews. We bring people in for an interview, and if we like them, we have them come back for a second, sometimes even a 3rd interview. We do group interviews. We have 2 or 3 hiring managers currently, our sales managers basically. We like them to do the hiring since they're responsible for their numbers. And guys, I gotta be honest with you. I used to do all the hiring myself. My team that does the hiring now, I sit on some of the interviews once in a while. You'd be shocked with the blind spots that some people have, including myself, where having a 2nd and 3rd set of eyes on things, they're picking up stuff that you would never even think about. And that's the value of having a true team. We have post-interview scorecards, where as soon as the interview's over, Gia, my daughter, she emails all the hiring managers a little survey all about the interview, so they don't forget while everything's fresh in their head and all the information's captured. Just to give you a quick example, we recently did a round of new hires about 2 months ago. Our team sifted through more than 100 resumes, and they literally took just about 3 months. Drove me and Jay crazy because I like to do everything fast. Those of you that know me, I'm very fast, very passionate, high energy, and I would have had them hired in 2 weeks, but probably would have hired the wrong people. So it took them almost 3 months to hire 5 new sales reps that are on the floor now. So I learned the hard way. And the biggest lesson I want to add into this is that, and I had to learn this one the real hard way because I just always in a good mood and I'm always trying to motivate people. I always try to motivate the sales team. But the lesson that I learned is that you can't motivate anyone. You have to hire motivated people. And that's the lesson I learned. On the other side of hiring is firing. Another one that I struggled with. Big weakness. Firing starts with accountability, one of my biggest weaknesses. We used to laugh. I was so bad at firing, I had a soft spot in my heart for everybody that at one of my companies, which I'm going to talk to you about shortly, I used to drive around the block. They used to tell me, go drive around the block. I got to fire Joey and come back in 10 minutes. And my office manager at the time would do it. That's how bad I didn't want any parts of the firing. But all jokes aside, accountability creates clarity. So what we did at QualiFi, we now have a scoring system for our KPIs. You could track any metric you want. There's so many metrics we could track. You want to look at call logs and email and just the activity, but we don't want to get lost in the weeds. So we picked 3 KPI metrics: number of new units funded, amount of revenue they bring in, and the number of applications they bring in. And we set up a little scoring system around the KPIs. So we're tracking it every month, and our guys know what numbers they have to hit. In addition to that, we created the PIP. It's a little joke around the office. We all laugh, but everybody knows what the PIP is, and nobody wants to be on it. Our PIP program is a performance in progress. That's for sales reps that go 2 months consecutively and don't hit their numbers and fall short. And we give them every opportunity to hit their numbers. The lesson here on firing is that, and this one I had to learn the hard way, bad hires are expensive, but keeping them too long is way more expensive. So that brings us to our next game changer, proper onboarding and training. Another thing I was pretty bad at. Finding A players and these quality sales reps is just the first step, but keeping them and developing them is the next challenge. In the past, I had no structure. My hiring was we bring somebody in, I do 2 or 3 interviews. 2 days later, I hire both people that I interview typically, and give them our training, scripts and rebuttals, little 7-page pamphlet. And 2 days later, they're on the phones making phone calls. And as you can imagine, low success rate, a lot of turnover, just wasn't good. What's different today? We designed an entire onboarding process using a platform called Monday.com. We launched QualiFi University. And at QualiFi University, it consists of about 4 to 6 weeks of training, something we never wanted to do, or take the time out to do it. It consists of lender training, product training, industry training, and professional sales training by Sandler. The goal is to keep it fun, interactive, and competitive. We use game-based digital learning software like Kahoot. We have them do live role-play sessions in the trainings. We allow them to review a lot of our other closers' pre-recorded Zoom calls, and they're listening to live pre-recorded discovery calls, and they're listening to also the guys pitching offers and closing deals. About a month into the training, we had them start jumping on live Zoom calls where reps are actually having really good, strong discovery calls. They get to listen to them live and join in on those. We also have them listen to the closing calls and presenting offers and how we do all the soft pitching and everything else that we do. One other thing that I do that I think is really valuable, I have no idea where I even pulled this from, but just one day I took the guys in the conference room back when I was doing the training, and I went to the whiteboard and I threw 3 deals up on the whiteboard. Deal number 1, deal number 2, deal number 3. And I listed like some of the data points that we have. Revenues, $3 million a month, or $3 million a year. Credit score, 500. Number of deposits, average bank balances, maybe first position, second position. We throw 3 deal scenarios on the board, and then I have them all take out an index card, and I say, look at the deal on the board, and tell me if you approve it or decline it. I'll wait a minute, give them some time to think, and then I'll go around the room and I'll ask them, show me your cards. Who approved, who declined? And we might get 1 or 2 that show me a decline, and I'll ask them the reason. And one might say credit, one might say time in business. And this is where the thinking begins. But on the other side of it, the ones that approve the deal, now I ask them, well, you approved it. How much are you approving it for? So now they got to think revenue and how the deal works and how much money should I approve it for. Sometimes I'll get different numbers all over the place. Pretty much just like our industry, right? I could send 1 deal to 6 lenders and get 2 declines, a $500K approval, and a $50K approval. That's just how it works. So when they're thinking about the approval amount, and then I'm going to ask them, what term are you going to give it? Is it a 12 or an 18-month or a 24-month? Or what rate? What rate are you going to give? The critical thinking in that exercise, it gives all these new hires an unbelievable foundation to really understand the industry from both sides, from the funding side, from the broker side. It's just invaluable. Another major turning point in my career, personally and business, is discovering Sandler training in 2013, I'd say. Bob Sinton, who's here with me today, I don't see him there, he goes in the back. He became more than a coach and a mentor to me. Bob changed the way I viewed everything about business. Sandler taught us how to be different. He taught me that we were working harder, but not smarter. He also taught us the importance of having an actual sales process. He taught us understanding dynamic communication, understanding human behavior, and leadership. But most importantly, he taught us how to sell value and do not become a commodity. And back in the day, I had a hard time comprehending even what he meant about value. Because I'm like, we're selling money. Everybody's money is green. It's the same product. But it's your whole process. Your process is the close. And that's how you separate yourself from every other company out there. You have to be different. So once we embedded those principles into our culture, that's when everything started changing. So now that we learn the importance of hiring better people and properly developing them, how do we create an environment where great people actually want to stay? So that brings me to our next game changer, culture. Culture and the people effect. In the past, as you guys already know, I held on to the bad apples for way too long. Bad apples destroy your culture. They actually hurt the A player performance because A players like to be around other A players. They drain energy, and then most importantly, they drain your resources because they're the ones asking all the questions every day. We have, this might sound a little aggressive, but in our conference room, on our big glass whiteboard, in big red letters, we have, "We don't hire assholes." And everyone in the company, we laugh about it, we joke about it, but we protect our culture at all costs. Because for us, like many, culture is not a buzzword. It seems like that all around the industries. Everybody talks about culture, 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 and then half the employees in the company hate where they work. For us, it's not about posters and ping pong tables. It's about truly being intentional. Culture is having standards, like we talked about earlier with the KPIs and accountability. It's also about giving your team autonomy to think for themselves and let them develop. It's having a complete support system. And all that starts with leadership. At QualiFi, we take care of our employees, each and every one of them. When I walk into the office every morning, I make sure I go up to each single employee every single day and give them a fist pump, shake hand, how was your day, how was your weekend? I get to know them as people, not just employees. Your employees are the face of your business. Many view them as expenses when we're looking at the payroll every 2 weeks. I get it. But your employees are on the front lines. They're pushing your business. They're taking care of your customers every single day. Without them, we don't have a business. We also give our employees a seat at the table. And when I say a seat at the table, I truly mean that. And we encourage collaboration and feedback. Every one of our meetings on Wednesday, everybody has an opportunity to speak. If somebody wants to say something to us or wants to bring something up, they're not scared. They're not going to get their heads bit off if they tell us something's not working. Or this automated email that I just put in, people are complaining about it. They're not afraid to tell me. They come and tell us every day. And we take that feedback, and it makes us better every day. We welcome the feedback. But most importantly, everybody feels like they're part of the company. They feel like they're part of something special in what we're building. We compete at the highest level, don't get me wrong, and we have fun doing it. We even have an online gaming platform called Enzy that we give away work from home days, mostly cash because they all want the cash and the money for the big prizes. We have monthly contests, quarterly contests, and everybody's so competitive, it just makes business and work fun every day. You see, when you remove toxic people, that's when everything changes. Great culture breeds A players, and A players attract and bring you more A players. We've seen it firsthand. Our standards create our identity, and ethics in doing what's right truly matters. Which brings me to my next game changer, the client experience. When I first heard the word client experience, for me back then, I thought it was just another buzzword. I had the pleasure to work under an amazing CEO while my 3 years at NAV, Greg Ott. Every single meeting we had with Greg, every all hands, and we had big company back then, all Greg used to talk about is we got to solve for the client experience. We got to take care of the client journey. We have to fix the client journey. It's the client, the client, the client. Like, that's all he used to say. His favorite line that sticks in my head to this day is, when you solve for the client experience, the money's a byproduct. It truly is. It's not a buzzword. So, we began to study and redefine our client journey. And what we do is, no matter where your leads are coming from, whether they're responding to a Facebook ad, a Google ad, an email marketing, a text message marketing, it all starts, if they're coming in from your website, a lead into your system. And you have to look at that client journey from that lead in to the first phone call that goes out, to the first email, the first text message, and you got to define the whole journey. How's it look when we're submitting and asking them for documents? What's that process look like? What does the systems look like? When we're getting approvals, how are we pitching the approvals? How are we selling offers? How are we closing? And then after closing, post-closing, are you reaching out to your clients? What does that system, what does that process look like? Each part of the journey is its own individual part of the business. Every touch point matters. So when you build a repeatable process, that's where things begin to change. Your clients, your business should, when your clients come to you, they should have the same journey. Whether they're talking to Jason, Mike, Maria, or John, they should go through a very similar and same process. Because when you build it the same, no matter what sales rep they're talking to, that builds confidence and trust. Because when the client wins, the company wins. And when the company wins, the money's a byproduct. So, speaking of processes, we're going to talk about game changer number 5. Systems and processes. Something else I hated. I hated structure. I really did. I truly did. I broke every rule in the book. I never followed a process. For those that I had to work for, I'm sorry, but I just never followed the rules, and I just did things my own way. I like to call it organized chaos, right? I winged it. I flew by the seat of my pants. Probably very inefficient in hindsight, right? But what I realized, just like the client journey, right? Every single part of your business, you have to look at it like it's its own business, every department and every process. So think of your business like an ever-breathing, living human body, right? It needs to be fed every single day. Constant improvement. So what did we do at QualiFi? We built systems around recruiting, hiring and onboarding in HR, trainings, submissions, approvals, closings, renewals. Repeatable processes equal operational maturity. We leverage technology. Technology improves speed and efficiency. It helps us bring everything together and organize. We invest in software and technology. We have DocuSign for our application requests. We use Salesforce for our CRM. We have bank scrubbing technology through MoneyThumb. We have lender APIs where we submit all our deals to our lending partners. We have part-out workflow automation for communication. We have training software, which we recently started about 6 to 10 months ago through Gong AI. And that platform is incredible. It gets to, it gives the sales managers a notification if a merchant's pushing back or they mention the word rate or too expensive, and the sales managers will get a notification to be able to come in and spearhead that deal. It also gives each funding manager the critique of their call. Are they talking too much? Are they talking too fast? So it's amazing software. I recommend you guys look into it. It's called Gong AI. So that brings me to number 6, delegation. My absolute biggest weakness in my entire career, delegation. And I could promise you, there's people here today, I still wrestle with this one a little bit myself now, but I'm sure there's people in here today that feel like and said, if I can only clone myself, if there was another me or even 2 me's, I feel like I had to do everything myself my entire career. 30 years, I had to have my hand in everything. Every deal, every big transaction, I had to jump on and try to help close it, had to make sure nothing went wrong. Even in a t-shirt business, had to make sure every big order, make sure the printing's right, make sure the artwork's right. I just couldn't help myself. And set me back nearly 27 of my 30 years, if I'm being honest. The biggest breakthrough, and what I've recently learned, is that if you're hiring good people, 2 to 3 people at 75% of what I thought I was doing are way better, and you're going to go way further than you are with an exhausted founder, overstressed, running at 110%. When you hire smarter people, leaders emerge. And this was a big one for me because I watched right before my own eyes, our management team grew from me and Jay, he's my partner, my rock, my daughter Gia, to today it's about 8 or 9 people. In these meetings, just like our Wednesday meeting that we have with the whole sales team and the whole company, in the management meetings, that's where it all happens, right? We're talking about what's working, what's not working, what we're building on, what we're working on. Ideas are flourishing. How do we grow? What's keeping us back? We're brainstorming. Everybody has a seat at the table. As much as I want to make the final decision, I truly listen to my team. And I don't make the decision always. I listen to my team because many times I'm wrong. And each person's perspective, again, it's like that second or third set of eyes. Now we have 8 or 9 of them. And you can't lose. You truly can't lose. Don't get me wrong, we don't always agree. And many times they get heated in these meetings because I'm very passionate about what I want to do and what I see and when I have a vision. And sometimes my team has to slow me down. Like my daughter Gia kicks me under the table and everyone in meetings say, Dad, you can't say that. So we don't always agree. But this is where I grew the most as a CEO. I no longer need to make all those decisions. I can trust in my management team. Our managers, I don't even like to call them managers because I look at them as leaders because that's truly what they are. They're not just there to watch the scoreboard. They're not there to Monday morning quarterback or reprimand the people that aren't doing good. They're literally a complete support system. And when people are struggling, they're there to help them and lift them up. They're there to coach them and build confidence. Another one, everybody sitting in this room right now has a natural gift, something that they were born with, something that they love to do, something that they feel really great when they're doing it, right? Whatever that is. When I got into this industry, going from t-shirts to finance, I got to be honest with you, it was a big change. I was 46, starting all over, had no idea what I was getting into. It was completely unknown. And I got to tell you, it was my home. I love what we do every day. I love our industry. As crazy as it is sometimes, as stressful as it is sometimes, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. But when you put a person in a seat what they're naturally good at, that's when the magic happens. Their gifts come out. If you have someone in your organization that's really good at details, they have a process, a system for everything, they're super organized, maybe that's somebody that should be on the operations side doing all these things that we talked about today. If you have somebody that's unbelievable at connecting with people and building relationships, they're your natural born sales guys. Put them in that role. If you have tech guys that are good at tech, maybe they should be on the operations side helping out the sales side. Match their talent to that role. When you put A players in the right seats, this is where ultimate transformation begins. We didn't scale, guys, because I got smarter. We scaled because I stopped doing everything myself. And that's the truth. Number 7. This one makes me laugh. The compound effect. So when Jay and I were going through it, it's funny because when we were going through that 6-month patch, a little over 2 years ago, we were doing all this stuff I'm talking about today. We were putting that 1% in, 1% better every day. We're building systems. We're training, hiring good people. We were still losing. And every night we're going home, texting on the phone till midnight. He'll tell you. It was stressful. We were losing money, doing everything right, working our ass off, had no idea what was going wrong. And we would text him and I would send him a text and say, dude, just let's keep doing it. Let's push through. Let's keep working. It's in the compound. In the compound, I used to say, and we text them. And what I mean by the compound effect is I used to come to these shows looking for the magic lead source, right? Looking for that single breakthrough, the best leads, the best leads. The reality is there is no magic lead source. A business owner looking for capital could come from the internet, could come from Google, could come from your next door neighbor, a Google ad. A business owner needing money is a business owner needing money. If they have revenues, they're a potential candidate. Doesn't matter the source. Combination of consistent improvements. That's the secret sauce. Make better hires, build better systems, build better processes, hire better leaders, do better training, give your clients a better experience. Because the reality is, scalability is a bunch of little tiny stacked improvements that nobody wants to do the work on. That 1% better. So I ask you guys today, what's holding you back? Is it hiring the right people, or firing and getting rid of the non-performers? Is it training, Are you putting the time in to truly train and help your people get to where they need to be? Is it culture and people? Are you taking care of your people? Are you building them? Are you growing them? Is it your systems and processes? Are you flying by the seat of your pants like I did for 30 years? Or is it delegation? Do you feel like you have to do everything yourself? So in closing, I put together like 6 rapid fire tips that I feel also made a big impact on my career, and I want to share them with you all today. Number 1, don't rush through sales calls. Schedule an appointment. If you're in the business and you're calling UCC leads or you're making cold calls and you're on that grind, don't just rush in when the person answers the phone and try to sell them real fast. Ask them if you caught them in the middle of something. Ask them if they have a better time that you could call back and schedule that 10-minute appointment. You'd be surprised that one little change what it'll make to your business. Schedule Zoom calls. I have to thank Bob Sitton at the training center again at Sandler. He switched us about 2 years ago from saying, you're missing the boat, Eddie. Why are you making phone calls? Get in front of your client. It's the same as being in their office, that face-to-face connection, that interaction. Learn from lost deals. This is another big one for me that I've always done. And I got to be honest with you, half of my lender network today came from deals that I actually lost on. I lose a deal. I find out from the client, what kind of deal did you get? Who was the lender that funded it? Oh, it's a 5-year term loan at 10%. The next day I had that lender signed up and it's in my network and I'm selling that product on Monday morning. So learn from your lost deals. Another big one, and this one is probably, if you asked me out of the 13 years at Sandler, with Sandler Training and Bob, if I had to pick one aha moment and one lesson that I've learned of all of them, and there's probably more than 400, I'm still going, it's 15 years. 15 years I've been doing Sandler Training, and I guess I'm a slow learner, still going back. The biggest lesson is to stop emailing your approvals. Stop emailing your offers. If you're sending an offer in an email, we've all been there, what happens next? They go dark. What do you think they're doing? 90% of the time when you send an offer in an email, just remember, if you want to continue to do it, you're helping your client buy from somebody else. Because he's taking that pretty little offer letter, and I used to send the most beautiful offer emails out that you could possibly imagine. I had the funding amounts highlighted in yellow and the payments, weekly payments in red, and beautiful emails. All they do is help the clients go somewhere else. So stop sending your emails, your approvals out, and learn how to gently soft pitch a deal to a client using brackets. And that's another Sandler lesson. Your lender relationships. I see some of my good friends here today and a lot of lenders that we work with today. Kevin Duffy with Channel Partners, one of my favorites. There's many of you here. And you have to nurture your lender relationships, guys. You have to treat them with respect. You can't lie to clients to get a deal done. Your lenders are your resources. And what good am I if I don't have any resources, right? You're as good as your resources. So nurture those lender relationships and continue to build them. Relationships are everything in this industry. Finally, there's a quote I heard about 15 years ago at my time at BizLender from one of the investors there. His name was Mike Shoeberger. And Michael told me, and this one stuck in my head forever, and I still try to do this today, and it's a great lesson learned. He said, Eddie, you want to be successful, spend 33% of your time working in the business, in the trenches. Spend 33% of your time working on the business, but make sure you're spending 33% of your time in growing the business, your vision, your dreams. And that's all I got today, guys. Thank you.